Welcome to today's deep dive into the most pressing environmental news.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking a close look at record-breaking temperatures, the complex world of climate action in politics, and even some concerning developments in Joshua Tree National Park.
Okay.
To connect all the dots for you, we've gathered insights from sources like the New York Times, the Daily Climate, and even NASA.
Sounds like a lot to unpack.
It is, but it's fascinating to see how these stories all tie together.
Definitely climate change is like this underlying current influencing decisions and anxieties everywhere.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
Headlines are buzzing about January shattering global temperature records.
Oh, wow.
It was the hottest January ever recorded. And that's even with La Niña's cooling influence.
That's concerning. It kind of makes you wonder if La Nina is losing its grip on regulating global temperatures.
Right.
Maybe all this human-induced ocean warming is just too powerful to be controlled by these natural patterns anymore.
Almost like a tug of war, where one side is really gaining the upper hand.
Exactly. And that shift could lead to more extreme weather events and unpredictable climate patterns.
It's a little unsettling to think about.
Yeah.
And speaking of unsettling, the Arctic region also experienced a similar alarming trend.
Really?
Temperatures there soared close to the melting point in the middle of winter.
You know, the Arctic is warming at an alarming rate. It's nearly 4 times faster than the global average.
4 times faster.
Yeah. And that accelerated ice melt contributes to rising sea levels impacting coastal communities and ecosystems globally.
It's a chain reaction with consequences rippling outward.
Exactly like a domino effect.
And to add to the worry, scientists are sounding the alarm about the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation.
Right, the AMOC.
Yes, a vital ocean current that regulates global climate.
It's a big deal, and they're predicting a potential collapse by 2050.
Oh, much sooner than initially anticipated by the IPCC.
Yeah, and if it does collapse, we're talking extreme sea level rise, disruptions in weather patterns, even threats to food security.
It's like a wake-up call.
Yeah, it really underscores the urgency of tackling climate change.
You'd think so, but then you see what's happening in the political landscape, and it's almost like we're moving in the opposite direction.
It's a disheartening contrast, for sure.
While scientists are issuing these dire warnings, political actions often contradict the urgency.
For instance, the freeze on climate and energy funding by the Trump administration.
Right, that's a major cause for concern.
Hundreds of billions of dollars allocated to clean energy and climate projects are now on hold.
What kind of projects?
Think about the Solar for All program designed to provide solar power to low-income households.
Right.
Now its potential is stalled.
And this isn't just a national issue either.
No, not at all.
There's a Musk-backed initiative that could potentially jeopardize USAID's climate programs.
That's right, and that could have serious repercussions for disaster preparedness and clean energy projects worldwide.
USAID cuts are particularly worrisome because they affect vulnerable regions already grappling with climate change impacts.
Exactly. Those communities need support to adapt and build resilience, not funding cuts.
It's like taking away their lifeline.
Absolutely.
And it's not just funding cuts that are worrisome.
No.
The administration is also dismantling key offices within the EPA and the Justice Department,
Which ones?
like the EPA's Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights.
That office focused on addressing pollution in marginalized communities.
It's like the needs of communities already disproportionately impacted by pollution are being overlooked.
Exact.
And then there's the erasure of climate and environmental justice data from federal websites.
It's almost as if they're trying to make the problem disappear by erasing the data.
Right, and it undermines public trust in science.
Definitely. It makes it much harder to hold polluters accountable and advocate for effective climate policies.
Like they're trying to sweep the issue under the rug.
Yeah, but thankfully scientists and advocates have archived a lot of this data.
That's good to hear. At least there's a backup. Okay, so we've talked about politics. Let's shift gears and look at some tangible impacts of climate change.
Sure.
California's been hit with record-breaking rains, causing devastating floods and mudslides.
Yeah, these intense storms are a direct consequence of climate change.
How so?
Well, warmer temperatures lead to increased atmospheric moisture, which results in heavier rainfall.
So it's more than just bad weather, it's a pattern.
Exactly, and this trend is likely to intensify in the future, posing significant challenges to infrastructure and disaster preparedness.
And climate change's effects go beyond just weather patterns.
That's right.
The monarch butterfly population in the West has plummeted to a near-record low.
Oh, wow.
Due to habitat loss, pesticide use, and extreme heat, It's really sad to see such iconic species struggling.
The monarch butterfly's decline really shows how climate change affects biodiversity.
It's not just an abstract concept.
Not at all. These delicate creatures are highly sensitive to temperature and weather fluctuations. Their dwindling numbers signal the alarming state of our ecosystems.
It's a reminder that climate change is happening right now before our eyes.
Absolutely.
Now let's zoom in on a story that might be happening right in your backyard.
Okay.
A series of mysterious land purchases near the Whispering Pines area in Joshua Tree National Park has sparked local concern.
What kind of purchases?
Well, it's unclear what the intentions are behind these acquisitions,
I see.
but the buyer's ties to the hotel industry further fuel these anxieties.
So people are worried about hotels or resorts being built inside the park.
Exactly. It brings to light the subtle ways development can encroach upon vulnerable ecosystems.
It's like a slow erosion of protected areas from within.
We often associate threats to public lands with actions like the Trump administration's attempts to shrink national monuments.
Right. Big splashy headlines.
But these land acquisitions, while seemingly innocuous, can be equally detrimental.
It emphasizes the need for a multi-pronged approach to environmental protection.
Exactly.
We need to fight political battles and stay vigilant against less obvious threats, like these land purchases that could chip away at our protected areas.
Absolutely. And these land use decisions have far-reaching implications.
It's not just about one park.
Right. What happens in Joshua Tree National Park impacts not only the local community, but also the region's biodiversity and the overall health of the environment.
It's all connected.
It highlights the interconnectedness of our ecosystems and the need to protect them from both large-scale and localized threats.
Now let's shift our focus back to those political battles surrounding climate action.
Okay.
The Trump administration is facing legal challenges over its attempts to freeze funding for environmental programs.
I've been following that.
And there are also ongoing efforts to roll back methane regulations.
The methane fee is a prime example of political maneuvering undermining progress on climate action.
How so?
Well, methane is a potent greenhouse gas, and regulating its emissions is crucial to mitigating climate change.
But there's pushback from GOP lawmakers. Right. They argue that these regulations burden the oil and gas industry.
It's a classic example of economic interest clashing with environmental protection.
It really exposes the disconnect between the scientific consensus on climate change and the political rhetoric surrounding it.
We have overwhelming evidence that human activities are driving global warming, yet some lawmakers continue to prioritize short-term economic gains.
Over the planet's long-term health, it's a frustrating and perilous dynamic.
The longer we postpone action, the more severe the repercussions.
Exactly.
And those consequences are already evident in communities worldwide.
That's right. Coastal erosion, extreme weather events, the displacement of communities.
All stark reminders of the urgency we face.
Absolutely. The impacts of climate change are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore.
It's no longer a distant threat, but a present reality impacting lives and livelihoods across the globe.
Exactly.
But on a slightly more positive note, there's a growing movement challenging the fossil fuel industry through lawsuits.
Oh, yeah, those are interesting.
These legal actions aim to hold companies accountable for their role in climate change.
It's about time. For far too long, the fossil fuel industry has externalized the costs of its actions.
Leading communities to bear the brunt of pollution and climate change impacts.
Exactly, and these lawsuits seek to rectify this imbalance
by demanding that companies pay for the damage they've inflicted.
It's a step towards acknowledging that climate change is not just an environmental issue, but also a social justice issue.
Absolutely. It's about protecting those most vulnerable to climate change impacts and holding powerful corporations accountable.
All right.
Now, amidst all these challenges, there are some inspiring stories of resilience emerging.
Oh, that's good to hear.
We're seeing communities adapting to climate change and finding innovative solutions.
Give me an example.
For instance, a group of activists purchased a former prison site with the intention of rewilding it.
Rewilding.
Their plan involves introducing bison and restoring the native ecosystem.
Wow, that's
It's
amazing.
an inspiring example of proactive environmental action at a local level.
This initiative showcases rewilding as a powerful tool for both climate mitigation and ecological restoration.
Bison, being a keystone species, can have a cascading positive impact on the entire ecosystem.
Their reintroduction can help revitalize the land and promote biodiversity.
It reinforces the incredible capacity of nature to heal and regenerate if we provide the necessary space and support.
These stories offer hope and inspiration.
Proving that positive change is possible even amidst the daunting challenges of climate change.
That's good.
And speaking of positive change, Technology is offering some exciting
I
possibilities.
feel like what?
Scientists have developed a groundbreaking tool that utilizes light to accelerate coral reef restoration.
So this could potentially help revitalize these threatened ecosystems.
Exactly. Coral reefs play a vital role in marine biodiversity, and their decline has been a major concern.
This new technology offers a glimmer of hope for restoring these reefs and protecting the countless species that rely on them for survival.
It's a testament to human ingenuity in tackling environmental challenges.
Technology, when harnessed for the right purposes, can offer effective solutions.
Right, but then there's technology that makes you wonder.
Like what?
Reusable rockets and air taxis.
Oh, yeah, those are transitioning from science fiction to reality.
But will these technological advancements contribute to a truly sustainable future?
Or simply perpetuate existing patterns of consumption and inequality?
Will air taxis become another luxury mode of transportation for the wealthy?
Good question.
Will reusable rockets simply make space travel more accessible?
Or can they be utilized to advance scientific research and address global challenges?
It's crucial to consider these questions.
Definitely, technology has the potential to be a powerful force for positive change.
But it's our responsibility to ensure that it is developed and used ethically and sustainably.
The crucial factor is how we choose to use technology. We must prioritize solutions that promote equity, sustainability, and the well-being of both people and the planet.
Technology is a double-edged sword. It can either exacerbate existing inequalities or become a catalyst for a more equitable and sustainable world.
Oh,
The choice ultimately lies in our hands.
that's a powerful thought.
It is. We have a lot to think about and a lot to do.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance for sure. Speaking of balance, there's been a lot of discussion about personal responsibility versus systemic change when it comes to climate action.
Right, it's a question a lot of people are wrestling with. Like, should we feel guilty about using plastic straws when corporations are pumping out massive amounts of CO2?
Exactly. And, a recent study revealed that AI chatbots, when asked about climate solutions, tend to prioritize small policy tweaks and individual actions.
So the AI is basically telling us to recycle more and turn off the lights.
Pretty much it seems to favor incrementalism over tackling the root causes of climate change.
It's like trying to empty a sinking ship with a teaspoon while ignoring the giant hole in the hull.
A good analogy.
It can feel like we're getting mixed messages. We're told to make conscious choices, but the scale of the climate crisis makes those individual actions feel insignificant.
It's true, the enormity of the problem can be paralyzing, but we have to remember that collective action drives systemic change.
Every individual choice adds to a larger movement.
Exactly, and those movements create the pressure needed to shift policies and priorities.
So it's about channeling concern into action.
Right, whether that's through advocacy supporting sustainable businesses or even just having informed discussions with friends and family.
It's about not feeling helpless.
Exactly.
But sometimes, even with the best intentions, things don't go as planned.
Oh, right, like what's happening in India.
What happened?
The government withdrew funding for Mission Life, a climate-friendly lifestyle initiative.
They're cutting funding for a program promoting sustainable choices. Why?
It seems the initiative struggled to gain traction due to a lack of financial incentives and inadequate investment in the infrastructure needed to support those sustainable choices.
So it's like encouraging people to ride bikes without providing bike lanes.
Exactly. Systemic change requires more than awareness campaigns. It demands investment and policy changes that make those sustainable choices accessible to everyone.
It's about addressing those systemic barriers, not just individual behavior.
Absolutely.
It seems like everything is connected. Individual actions, systemic change, policy decisions, technological advancements.
It's a complex web.
And that complexity is what makes this whole field so fascinating.
It really is. And, amidst all the challenges, there are some encouraging developments.
Oh, good? Like what?
Well, Colombia's President Petro halted an oil deal with a U.S. company over concerns about fracking.
That's pretty big considering Colombia is a major oil producer.
It is. Petro is prioritizing environmental concerns over those short-term economic gains.
So he's putting the environment first.
He's a vocal critic of fracking and committed to transitioning Colombia toward a cleaner energy future.
That's a bold stance.
It is, and it's definitely encountering resistance from the oil industry and those who benefit from the status quo.
So there was pushback.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely turbulence in the energy sector and concerns about the economic implications of moving away from fossil fuels. But Petro argues that the long-term costs of climate change outweigh the short-term benefits of relying on oil and gas.
It's a calculated risk.
It is, but it's a necessary one.
In contrast, Texas has delayed funding to fix leaking oil wells that are polluting water sources.
Talk about short-sightedness.
Right, Texas has thousands of documented leaking oil wells, contaminating underground water supplies with oil, salt, and toxic minerals.
And the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality has yet to distribute the allocated funds to fix it.
It's a bit alarming.
It is often the financial burden of plugging these wells exceeds the allocated funds.
So even when there's a willingness to address the problem, money gets in the way.
Exactly. It shows that we need more proactive measures to prevent these leaks and better funding mechanisms to address the damage that's already been done.
The responsibility shouldn't fall on taxpayers to clean up the mess created by oil and gas companies.
Absolutely. Accountability is crucial.
Now let's turn our attention to Brazil, home to a significant portion of the Amazon rainforest.
Okay.
We're seeing some concerning trends there, with several Amazon states pushing back against environmental protections.
That's a step backward.
It is weakening environmental protections in the Amazon could have dire consequences for the global climate and all the species that depend on that rainforest.
It's a major setback.
One state, Mato Grosso, passed a law undermining the soy moratorium.
That was instrumental in reducing deforestation.
Right. The soy moratorium was a voluntary agreement by soy traders to avoid purchasing soy grown on deforested land.
Undermining it could lead to a surge in deforestation.
It's disheartening to see progress being eroded.
It is. It shows how fragile those environmental protections are, especially in regions where agriculture dominates.
But international pressure can make a difference.
Oh, for sure.
The EU's anti-deforestation law has motivated Brazil to curb deforestation.
But there's a growing agribusiness lobby within Brazil pushing back against those regulations.
It's a constant tug of war.
It is.
It seems like we need a multifaceted approach, strong domestic policies, international cooperation, and a shift in consumer behavior.
Absolutely. We have to recognize how interconnected these issues are.
Deforestation in the Amazon affects the entire world.
It contributes to climate change and biodiversity loss.
It's a global problem requiring collective action.
Exactly. The choices we make have consequences that extend far beyond our immediate surroundings.
It's a powerful reminder of our shared responsibility for the planet.
It is.
You know, it can feel a bit overwhelming to constantly encounter all these environmental challenges and political roadblocks.
It's definitely a lot to process, but, amidst all the turmoil, there are sparks of hope.
Like what?
Well, we're seeing communities coming together to address climate change at the local level.
Right, it's not just happening at the top.
Exactly, and there's a growing awareness of how interconnected these issues really are.
And a renewed emphasis on environmental justice.
Yes, that's crucial.
Recognizing that climate change doesn't impact everyone equally.
Right. Those who've contributed the least to the problem often bear the brunt of the consequences.
But so it's about more than just the environment.
It is. It's about social justice, too. Ensuring solutions are equitable and address the root causes of inequality.
Not just putting a Band-Aid on the symptoms.
Exactly.
And of course, we can't talk about solutions without talking about technology.
Right.
Its role in addressing climate change has sparked quite a debate.
Some people see it as a silver bullet, others are more cautious.
Worried about unintended consequences.
Yeah, technology can definitely play a role in mitigating climate change.
Renewable energy carbon capture and storage.
Exactly, but it's not a cure-all, and we have to be mindful of potential downsides.
Like what?
Well, the growing reliance on AI, for example, raises concerns about data privacy, algorithmic bias, and potential job displacement.
So we have to be careful.
We have to develop these technologies responsibly, making sure they benefit everyone, not just a select few.
So as we navigate all of this, what are some key takeaways to keep in mind?
Well, staying informed and engaged is paramount. The more we understand the challenges, the better equipped we'll be to advocate for solutions and hold those in power accountable.
And critical thinking is essential.
Oh, absolutely.
We need to question assumptions and challenge the status quo.
Especially in today's world where misinformation is so rampant.
We have to be discerning about the sources we trust.
Right, and remember, we're not powerless. We have the power to make choices in our daily lives that contribute to a more sustainable future, and we can demand action from our leaders.
So what you're saying is there's still hope.
Absolutely, there's still hope.
Yep.
We're witnessing incredible innovation and creativity in the fight against climate change, and there's a growing movement of individuals dedicated to creating a better future.
That's an inspiring thought to end on a journey worth taking.
It is. By working together, we can create a future where both humanity and the planet thrive.
And that concludes our deep dive into today's top environmental news. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.